let's see if we can talk about some of the BS that has been being said here lately. So I am on my way. I got back yesterday, got home at noon, handled some contractors doing some roof repairs on our house, and then coming down to the northeast corner of Ohio to not only visit my father but do a couple bids on some auto detailing. So with that said, I'm sure that's probably getting annoying, so let's just take that off. The green screen there, I tried it out, it didn't work. So, and before we get started again, if you could like, comment, and subscribe to the channel as we're trying to grow. And of course, down in the description, I've also put the link to our detailing page, RK Auto Detailing. And what that I'm going to do there is more towards auto detailing, but more gearhead stuff and other stuff that I dabble in. So we're 7 subscribers away when I last looked. So if you can go there and subscribe, we're trying to get the live feature unlocked so I can do at least once a month a Friday night live from the garage or shop, and just go over some products. There's a lot of products from my AMSOIL side to the detailing products, and we can sit down and I can explain a lot of stuff in that aspect going forward. So what I've noticed this week when I got home yesterday was a lot of the platforms that that I follow in economics and finance and some in trucking, they're getting on this bandwagon, which is starting to, I've noticed like 4 or 5 channels already that are talking and reciting stuff from the ATA, and the ATA is taking to the hill, planting that flag of driver shortage. There is no driver shortage, period. And yet, folks are reciting the ATA and, you know, our economy's down, you know, but trucking has got a driver shortage. There's not much going on other than we need more drivers. No, we don't need more drivers. We have plenty of drivers. What the problem is going on, and I've said this before, and I'll say it again, and it's a driver retention problem. Why cannot these big mega carriers keep their drivers for, let's say, for no more than a year? Let alone, I've heard guys say, I've gone over to, say, Swift or JB or Snyder, and they've lasted a month, 3 months, and they got out. Because why? They're screwing with their pay. And that's the biggest thing, is pay. The pay is horrible. And I know one YouTuber got out of trucking, and the company he was working for, Bay and Bay, they give, you know, they entice you with all of these incentives, these bonuses. There is no bonus, but very little. Maybe a referral bonus, a fuel bonus, a safety bonus. But the fuel bonus at Bay and Bay, it was like at what, 7.5, 7.6, and then they upped it that now your monthly average had to be 7.8. And there's no way. I can't do a monthly average on 7.8 because I run the Appalachian Mountains. And if you run from either East Coast or West Coast and you got to run through the Rockies or Appalachians, you're going to take your fuel mileage. At least depending on how long you're in it, if you're doing a lot of deliveries within a state that resides into those mountains. So these carriers, they entice they play on the ignorance of a driver and or someone that's a newbie coming in the industry. And what is it that, you know, they want to, you know, bring them in, and you're going to get this, this, and this. And it's always, you can make up to, but never that amount, because you got to meet A through Z requirements month to month, quarter, or annually. And most of the time they will set booby traps up to where you won't get that. And that's why these guys will leave within 1-3 months, or, like I said, 1 month, a quarter, or an annual. These drivers are like, you lied to me, I'm out. And after a driver has been done dirty by these mega carriers enough times, they're like me. I haven't worked for a mega carrier. I have worked for Waste Management. And you talk about how these guys can just run a narrative and a lie that and this is from like late 90 through 1997, when I heavy hauled and did a lot of work for them. And they just kept pumping you up and tried to keep the morale, just kicking the can on the morale down the road a little bit more. But in the end, it was costing me more to work there than it was, to stay the duration. They kept upping the health coverage, dental, never giving a pay raise. And, they played on our ignorance to a point. A whole slew of us just left, all within like a 12 to 15 month period. They lost a lot of veteran drivers that went on to other areas that took good care of their employees, as like where I'm at. And that's why I've stayed the duration, because they know you as a name. They hear when you have a problem. They work with you when you have a problem outside of the truck, which means your personal life. If you need to be home, I'm going to tell you right now, there was a time I was in the middle of my route, and the route was running me behind whatever was going on. This is back when I was running more closer in the region and running my day cab. I said, hey, I may not make it back, and I need to be back to get my wife to a medical procedure for the next day. And they're like, stop what you're doing, head the truck home. We'll get that product out next week to these folks. And that's exactly what happened. And they made the phone calls and said, drivers got to come back. Sorry, you're not going to get your product this week. We'll get it to you next week. That's how business should be handled. The individual human being should be always brought first. But that's what the ATA and the OOIDA, the Owner Operators Independent Association, or the American Trucker Association. These fools, these guys are as horrible now as modern day unions. And that is, they tell you they're here for the American truck driver, and they are not. They're here for the American corporation of carriers that are in trucking. Your JB Snyders, your Swift Knight, your Useless, or Useless Express. Who else is out there that, it's like these guys are being bought and paid for by the lobbying money of these corporations. And then these guys go to Capitol Hill and they influence politicians to run policies and laws that go in their favor and not for the driver, not for the small carrier, not for the mom and pop, not for the owner operator at all. I mean, these fools are absolute bought and paid for. That monkey ass from OOIDA, Pew or whatever, that guy there, here's the thing. These guys aren't in the trenches out here like the rest of us, working day to day. They're out there getting bought and paid for, sitting in their high and mighty chair, getting flown over to D.C. and to help push policies that, hey, they're taking out to dinner and they're told, hey, we want to get this through, and I put on the community post the receipts of these entities being the congressmen and OOIDA and all that, the receipts of them taking money. influenced money, lobbying money. And it is a horrible thing to see that then what's this guy Pugh for OOIDA, you know, he does a video last week of how we need to push the HR 5688 bill, you know, that would stop the non-domicile truckers. And I'm going to tell you right now, that HR 5688 is open-ended. Because Sean Duffy can put a pause or a stoppage to non-domicile CDL holders, it is open-ended that will allow the next administration, the next Secretary of Transportation, to pick up and say, but that non-domicile driver cannot, you know, obtain a license according to the Secretary of Transportation. So the next one that is like, you know what, we're going to let all these guys have license and drive. So it's open-ended for the next Secretary of Transportation to sign off and say, yes, now these guys can have license. So they left that open-ended. They left that back door open to pass right through and let this happen again on the next administration. It looks good on the front end. Oh, they're going to stop the non-domicile. But what happens if Sean Duffy had a different mindset and attitude and said, like the last a-hole that was in there, Buttigieg, that never went out to East Palestine to look at the train wreck and all the families got affected. He was out whining and dining, having dinner with his husband. And, you know, I'm just flat out, I'm going to be unfiltered on this. But I definitely have gotten I want to say pissed off enough that I've had enough of this crap that I'm going to start looking up and digging deep into the dirtiness of the ATA, the OOIDA. I'm going to find out the members and the board, the people on the boards of these. And if I got to dox them, I'll dox them. I don't care. I mean, they need to be hung out there. They need to be for the American citizen and a human being, and not for the profitability of these corporations to widen their margins. That's all these are. And why are you having to pay a membership to something that ill represents you? You know, you got to pay into an annual membership to the ATA and OOIDA. And there are better ways to get information and to get a voice out there. Start your own channel, as like I did. Get involved with other places like Freightwaves, Overdrive, the American Trucking United. You don't have to be a member to be at American Truckers United. They have a website. They offer a lot of tools there free of charge. They will take donations. Do you want to buy a shirt? I am going to look into getting a shirt from them and say, yeah, let's stand up, because it was the ATU that helped Arkansas get that bill passed to push for the ELP. And they were also there with Oklahoma to get that pushed through. The ATA was there to push back on English language proficiency in Arkansas and Oklahoma to not get those bills passed at a state level. It was the ATA there. It's horrible. And you know what? Until one of their members' family gets ran over by one of these non-domicile foreigners, it may jar them, or those heartless and sensitive pricks probably will just say, oh, well, sorry, I lost my children or my wife or my mom and dad because, you know, my company or the company I represent or the corporations that have bought and paid for me, I have to go this way. And that's the way this country is becoming, the United States of America of corporations. And these corporations are buying off everyone from a politician right down to these entities like ATA and OOIDA. These guys are influenced by money, bought and paid for, and they will never, ever represent the American citizen driver out here in the trenches working day in and day out. It is a horrible thing to see, but this is the way they have operated to such a point that we are all being affected. And I have to come out here in my personal vehicle now as I'm driving for my second, my business. I got to watch out for all these a-holes out here. And I'm on the Indiana and Ohio Turnpike as I've been coming across, because I got to go out to the northeast corner towards Erie, Pennsylvania today. And then I'll be heading back tomorrow. But basically, I got to watch out for these guys. It's been some crazy crap already out here. And as far as drivers early in the morning, truck drivers. But the nice thing of it is, being in my car, is as I go around them, I can pour by them. I don't have to sit and be like going 1 or 2 miles an hour faster than they are, just to take about 15 minutes to get around them. But man, some of these guys are pretty erratic on their driving when you can just stand back out of your own truck. Because there's
construction ahead.
I got to be on the defense, not only for these foreign drivers out here, but also the cars that are distracted, disgruntled, and pissed off because they are more in a hurry now than ever been, even from the late 80s into the 90s. These folks have got more aggressive and more road rage because they can't make a living on a 40-hour-a-week, one job living. And I'm talking about one job. I'm not talking about a couple, like a husband and wife both working and the kids being daycared and all that. I'm talking about a lot of these folks having to, I want to say, go over and above 40 hours, maybe working a second or third, job or a gig. And it's been one of those things where these corporations don't care. We are slaves in this system they have created since the early 1900s.
There's a lane closure ahead.
The Industrial Revolution. They have brought, they have bought and paid for all the farmers back when J.D. Rockefeller and J.P. Morgan and Vanderbilt, all those big names from the early, late 1800s into the early 1900s, when that Industrial Revolution came, they started building factories and they started recruiting people that worked on farms and said, leave your farm, come work here and get a check every week, every other week. And they, then said, hey, we can up our game. And those same names also influenced creating the Federal Reserve, which is a private bank. It's not federal. And they implemented the central bank, Federal Reserve, and then they implemented income taxes. So we have been a slave in this system, and since 1913, when income taxes got implemented, and it was only supposed to be for the rich. Yeah, it's always a lie. And anything that comes out of the ATA and OOIDA, whatever they say, look the opposite direction, because they're trying to get you to look over here when something actually is happening over here. And it is one of those, I don't promote them. I will not stand with them. I will debate them. Have you seen the OOIDA? There was a video out there of President, because Pew is like the vice president or whatever of the OOIDA. He's the one that's always up there flapping his damn fat ass mouth. And, the guy needs to get back in a truck and see what the hell's going on out here. Or maybe just stay out in the truck. Report everything from a truck side, instead of, getting all comfy there eating his bonbons and flying around and spending all the membership money, and their memberships is going down. But the president, you could Google the president of the OOIDA. He was up on stage sitting down sleeping while speakers were up there at this conference. And it's embarrassing. I would be embarrassed to even give money to something that's just sleeping on the job like that. It's horrible. And right along with the ATA is always, they're always going to back and make sure what's best for the multi-billion dollar carriers. That's all they care about. They want to squash out the little guy. And I say, you know what? That's why I've been building up these businesses. That's why I got up at 4 a.m. today. I had a short time at home yesterday, and then I got prepared, ready, and then got on the road, and here I am heading out to bid on some jobs for my other business, because I'm not stopping, I'm not slowing down, and I'm not letting this downturn in the economy, I'm not letting inflation, nor am I letting corporations suppress me to where I'm kicking and screaming for struggling, needing money. You know, like these idiots on TikTok that are out here now threatening our livelihood because if their EBT stops, and we should be out there working for them. And I say, let them lose their EBT. I'm all for it. Take that social programs right away. And then let's vet and see who really needs it. And yeah, absolutely. I got brass and lead right here in the center console next to me. Damn Skippy. With a few extra, I want to say, holders of extra brass and lead. Because when I'm getting gas, my brass and lead's sitting on that trunk lid. When I go in the grocery store now, you damn well bet I'm packing. And I don't trust America. You know, it's getting to the point when you look over your shoulder and you say, I almost feel like it'd be safer to live in Russia than it would be to live in the United States. Because we've got weak, non-critical minded thinking people in this country that don't want to do anything. And I say, when Russia and China were to march through the shores of the West Coast, I'll tell you what, I'd say, go ahead and take California, Oregon, and Washington. You might as well pull them over, because them weak-ass pussies ain't going to be able to do anything but maybe throw their rainbow flags at them and kick and scream and throw a tantrum in the street. So, but yeah, these YouTube channels getting out there and pushing an ATA narrative of driver shortage. And I've had to comment on all of them and say, how dare you? Are you that bought and paid for? Are you that, you can't be that ignorant. I said to one of them, you're smarter than this, you're better than this to report like this. Do not ever recite anything from the ATA. Do better. Look more in depth of what you're going to post and talk about on your channel, because it was downright just disgusting to see other channels talking about driver shortage and reciting the ATA. If there's no driver shortage, there never will be a driver shortage, ever. They're already making up for the, you know, if there is any downturn in driver shortage, they got autonomous going. Come on. You know damn well. It's all a narrative. It's all a propaganda. So they can do two things. They can push the autonomous, and they can bring in more illegal immigrants and throw more foreigners in here. And why non-domicile? What's the non-domicile? It's these people that don't have citizenship here that are driving these trucks, making money. But guess what being non-domicile means? It means they're still bound to their home country. Guess where their paychecks and all the money they're making goes to? Back home to their family, supporting their motherland. Not here, not in our economy. Period. They're not buying houses here. They're not buying cars here. They're not buying anything here. All they're doing is banking money, sending it back home, making them wealthier. So I say, you know what? If you want a foreign driver in your company, let them be there. But they better be a damn right. The law should state they need to be a citizen. They need to have citizenship. They need to reside here in America, plain and simple. And their training for trucking should be here in America, not, well, they got training in their homeland, so they somewhat qualify. No, they have to go right back through training here in America. But yet, you know, the ignorance in America is so overwhelming, and so people don't want a critical think. They just like, give me my free everything. Let me eat garbage food. Let me be dependent on pharmaceuticals, and don't bother me with inconveniences. They want to be convenient, and when they're inconvenient, they're the ones out there kicking and screaming and crying like big babies. So yes, all the social programs should be taken away. These people need to fall on their ass and hit hard times. And yeah, maybe they need a good ass kicking too. So not afraid of that coming for them either. But you pigeonhole yourselves, America, into this by letting people get a free ride on everything and anything. Any more than, you know what, I don't want to go drive truck. I don't want to have to work long hours. I don't want to progress in life. But the other people are willing to work hard and go far, but they're also taking a lazy way of doing it. The government here is letting them come in free of charge and get in these trucks free of charge, and places like New York giving no name given on the driver's license. Come on, you know, I do that, and it's like, really? And shame on California and all these other DOT stations that are letting these guys through and saying, well, it's an inconvenience to write these guys up, put them out of service. You know, I would, you know, just get them out of my hair, you know. But let's go after, you know, the white dude that's actually doing an honest day's living and rail his ass, you know. But hey, these non-domicile guys, they got money because they're sending it all back to their mother country. So I say, rail them, ticket them, get their money. You know, maybe if you ran them poor a few times or put them out of work. But yeah, the non-domicile has got to be just erased and gone, that it never exists ever again. Right along with the work visas, as far as for being in a commercial truck. You want a work visa? Fine. Go down and work at McDonald's. Go work in the farm and the agriculture. You know, out there where, yeah, you're going to be hoeing and picking vegetables and that. But to put them behind a wheel of a truck, and when is their visas up? And why are a lot of these still here and extended past the expiration of their visa? That really gets to me. And yet, here we are. And guess who promotes it? Time and time again. And if someone like Trump comes in and starts distorting the social program of it, then the ATA, you know, the corporations go to the ATA, and of course their lobbyists rail up to DC, and they're like, oh, we got to have a congressional hearing on this because it's not going in their favor of profitability, because the slave labor of what they're bringing in from these other countries, that's what they're doing. The mega carriers, these big corporation of trucking, is bringing in all these foreigners so they can pay them. And I've been hearing 25 to 33 cents a mile to pay them, which all that money they make anyways, that little bit of money is getting sent back to the homeland, but it allows them to widen their profits. What are they doing with all this profitability? Is it shareholders, or is it this CEO of this corporation's trying to outdo the other CEO who's got the bigger yacht? And like I said, I'm going to dig into these guys. When I find dirt on them, damn right, I'm going to expose it and I'm going to dox them. And I believe it needs to happen. And, you know, like I said, there's going to be a day I'm not going to talk about trucking anymore because I'll be away from it and gone. And that's just it. A lot of these channels that was promoting all the ATA stuff this week, when I commented and said, shame on you for doing that. But then you look at it, none of these monkeys are even in the trenches of driving. You know, do better. Report on only what, you know, do critical thinking before you report on that stuff. And yes, I'm going to bring more documentation. I'm going to bring more receipts and more stuff to come. And I'm going to, and those receipts not only be in the videos, but I'll put them on the community post as I've been doing on this, on the OOIDA, getting bought and paid for, taking donations from corporations. So yeah, they're paid off. to push things that go in the narrative of the mega corporations, these mega carriers of these corporations, what I meant to say. And it is a crying shame that all the corporations are like this. It's not just in trucking, it's all of them. And they all want slave labor here. So slavery is alive and well in America, even though, we need to do reparations.
There are lane closures ahead.
For all the blacks that had to deal with slavery in the 1800s. Dude, fucking slavery is happening right now every Monday through Friday, even Monday through Sunday, slavery is happening. Go in and look at a meat packing plant. Go look at agricultural. Go look at your construction companies. Tell me slavery is not alive and well. Man, you're a fool. A complete and utter fool to know that this is going on. And as long as these corporations can get cheap labor in there and they can continue to live the lifestyle they are. And like I said, I'll stand and cheer when these corporations go down, when the ATA goes under, I will stand and cheer because we don't need them. We don't need JB, Snyder, UPS. We don't need the useless Express, Felon Express. Who else have we got out there? All these big corporations that are just running anything to manipulate these people because they play on their ignorance. You're a foreigner here driving for a company, it's going to be flat out that they're going to molest and underpay you and illegally work you. They're going to break all the laws to make sure. So, and the Ukrainians that are here out of the Chicagoland, I'd say burn them all down. And I tell people, do not work for anyone out of Chicago. It is a horrible city that has trucking companies. Do not go there. Do not touch it with a 10-foot pole. So, I have had what I wanted to say. I'm going to do more work and more due diligence on going against the ATA and the OOIDA. And their board members, their CEOs, and I'm going to expose them for the dirt bags they are. And if I can, I will dox them too. So they need to be and need to be pushed back. Unless you're a YouTuber that's out here in the trenches driving a truck and you don't have an opinion on any fucking law as far as like that HR 5688, you don't have a fucking opinion. You want to bring statistics and information like that of numbers? Great. But as far as what's good for us, shut the fuck up. You have no say-so. The only thing you can do is just sit back and let the rest of us that are in the trenches handle this and be the voice. You're not the voice. Just another fool out there just making money off YouTube, trying to bring some kind of narrative. And that's all it is. It's not the news. It's a narrative. So that's it. That's all. So if you don't like what I got to say, oh well. I'm not here to pander to anyone's feelings. I'm just here to bring the news of what's going on, the manipulation and the corruption that is in the trucking industry. It's always been there since the Jimmy Hoffa days and before. So, and they just found more and more ways to use money to buy and pay and manipulate to get their money as far as these ATAs, the OOIDAs, and these mega carriers. So it is just a shame that this is not America that I remember 45, 50 years ago. And it's became a landfill of corruption and fraud. And these foreigners don't give two shits. Well, here's what I got to say. They don't give two shits living here. I don't give two shits about their effing countries either. And if they get wiped out, their motherland gets wiped out, I'm going to stand and applaud for it. Deserve it. So, you got me on a raw and unfiltered day, and it's just the way it goes that some days I got something to say. I built a platform to say it on, so maybe it'll hinder me from growing, but I don't care. But it's better than having to sit out here and bitch and complain to people that don't care as far as in public. So this is my freedom of speech, and if someone wants my opinion face to face, I'll give it to them. But don't thing they got to say is anything but fraudulent and corruption that only benefits the big corporations. It does not benefit the working man driving behind the wheel of that truck. So until next time, stay safe, continue educating yourself. Knowledge is learned and not taught, and we will see you all in the next video.